The Grand Canyon glowed red beneath the sinking sun. Wind howled through the cliffs, rattling the old rope bridge that swayed 100 feet above the rocks. Emily Carter, 7 months pregnant, gripped the shaking rope. Her heart pounded against her ribs. "Ethan," she whispered, "please, I can't do this." Ethan Reed, her husband, stood a few feet away with a calm, cold smile. "You'll be fine," he said. "I just want a few photos before the light disappears. It'll make a perfect story for the foundation." Behind him, Vanessa Hale, his stunning PR director and secret mistress, filmed everything on her phone. "The lighting is gorgeous," she said. "Just a few more steps, Emily." Emily took another cautious step. The planks groaned. Beneath her, the canyon stretched endlessly, swallowing her courage. She forced a smile. "I don't understand why we need this." Ethan adjusted the harness around her waist. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You trust me, right?" Emily nodded weakly. "I still want our baby to have a father." He kissed her forehead. His eyes were empty. "Then trust me one last time." She didn't see him flick the safety clip open or swap it with a fake one. Vanessa's red lips curved into a quiet smirk. "Make sure the camera catches the fall," she murmured. "What?" Emily asked. Ethan's tone hardened. "Nothing. Keep going." The bridge tilted as a gust of wind hit. Emily lost balance, clutching the rope. "Ethan!" she cried. He didn't move. "Let go," he said softly, almost like a prayer. The harness snapped. A piercing scream ripped through the canyon. Emily dropped, ropes whipping around her. One strap caught, leaving her dangling above the abyss. "Ethan, help me," she sobbed. He leaned over the edge. "I can't," he lied, voice steady. Vanessa whispered, "Perfect shot." The strap began to tear. Splinters showered from the wooden planks. Ethan pretended to panic, yelling for help, but no one was there. At least, that's what he thought. Far above the canyon, a helicopter engine thundered. The noise grew louder, echoing against the cliffs. Inside the chopper, 3 men scanned the ground. Alexander Carter gripped the controls. Movement below, 200 feet. Benjamin Carter studied his tablet. Thermal signature confirmed, female, unconscious, pregnant. Christopher Carter strapped on the rescue harness. "I'm going down." "Be careful," Alexander shouted. The helicopter descended fast, blades scattering dust. Ethan shielded his face, stunned. Vanessa screamed, "Who are they?" A steel cable dropped from the sky. Christopher slid down through the roaring wind. "Hang on," he yelled. Emily looked up, barely conscious, hair whipping across her face. A man was descending toward her. Broad shoulders, determined eyes. He reached out as the last strap gave way. Their hands met. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The wind, the noise, even her fear. "I've got you," Christopher shouted. "Don't let go." Emily's fingers tightened around his glove. Tears streamed down her cheeks. The helicopter lifted, pulling them toward the light, while Ethan and Vanessa watched in frozen shock, realizing the story had just begun. The helicopter blades cut through the canyon wind like thunder. Dust swirled in furious circles as Christopher Carter clung to the rescue line with one arm and held Emily against his chest with the other. "I've got you," he shouted over the roar. Her eyes fluttered open for a brief second, filled with confusion and fear. "Who are you?" "Hold on, don't talk," he said. His voice shook, not from fear but from something deeper, recognition. The pendant around her neck brushed against his sleeve. The initials EC glimmered under the fading sunlight. Above them, Alexander kept the helicopter steady. "Benjamin, check vitals," he ordered. Benjamin's tablet beeped. "Heartbeat weak but stable. We have to get them up now." The cable jerked violently. A gust of wind slammed into the helicopter, tilting it sideways. "We're losing balance," Alexander gritted his teeth. "Chris, secure her." Christopher wrapped his harness around Emily's waist. "We're not dying today," he growled. He pressed the emergency lift button. The cable reeled them upward, swaying over the edge of the cliff. On the bridge, Ethan stared in disbelief. No, this isn't possible." Vanessa dropped her phone. "Who are they?" she screamed. Ethan's mask cracked. "Shut up! Don't record!" Vanessa backed away, her perfect smile gone. "You said she was gone." "She was supposed to be," he hissed, watching the helicopter rise higher. "This ruins everything." Emily's vision blurred. The pain in her abdomen sharpened. "My baby," she whispered. Christopher held her closer. "You're safe now. Just breathe." The helicopter steadied as Alexander found open air above the canyon. "Hang tight. We're taking her to Mercy Hospital." Inside the cockpit, Benjamin turned to his brothers. "She looks familiar," he said. "You see that pendant? Alexander glanced back, eyes narrowing. E.C. Carter. That's impossible, Christopher interrupted, still holding her hand. She can't be. Benjamin's voice dropped. We lost our sister 25 years ago, near a bridge collapse. Dad died saving her. That pendant was his gift. Silence filled the cabin except for the engine's roar. Alexander's grip on the controls tightened. We're not losing her again, not this time. Down below, Ethan stumbled backward, shaking. Vanessa looked at him with cold amusement. You just tried to kill your wife, and the universe sent angels to ruin your plan. Ethan glared. Shut up, Vanessa. No one will believe her. By the time she wakes up, the world will think she was insane. Vanessa tilted her head, smirking. Unless she remembers everything. Ethan turned toward her sharply. You'd better hope she doesn't. The helicopter soared away, vanishing into the crimson horizon. Inside, Christopher brushed a strand of hair from Emily's face. You're going to be okay, he whispered. Emily's trembling lips formed one word before losing consciousness. Chris. He froze, heart hammering. She had said his name, his real name, like a memory buried deep inside her had awakened for a second. Benjamin's voice broke the silence. She said your name, didn't she? Christopher nodded slowly. Yeah, he murmured, and she shouldn't know it. The brothers exchanged stunned glances as the helicopter sped toward the hospital, unaware that the woman they just saved would soon turn their entire world upside down. The helicopter touched down on the hospital rooftop, its blades still spinning as medical staff rushed forward. Christopher carried Emily in his arms, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. She's losing consciousness, he shouted. A nurse guided him toward the emergency entrance while Alexander spoke quickly to the doctor. She's pregnant. 7 months. She fell from a bridge. Save her first. Inside, lights blurred overhead as the gurney rolled down the hallway. Emily's fingers clutched at Christopher's sleeve before slipping away. The heart monitor beeped unevenly. We need oxygen now, the doctor barked. Christopher stepped back, hands shaking. His shirt was stained with her blood and canyon dust. Benjamin placed a hand on his shoulder. You did what you could, Chris. She's alive because of you. Christopher's eyes stayed on the swinging doors that hid her from view. She said my name, he whispered. Before she passed out, how could she know me? Benjamin frowned, scrolling through records on his tablet. I'm searching hospital databases for Emily Carter, but there's a problem. Her file doesn't exist anywhere. Not in California, not in Arizona. Alexander approached, his voice low. That pendant around her neck, it's identical to the one Dad gave our sister before the accident. Benjamin looked up sharply. You think she's... I don't know, Alexander interrupted. We'll wait for DNA results. Don't tell her anything yet. Meanwhile, miles away in Los Angeles, Ethan sat in his office surrounded by darkness. Vanessa leaned against the desk, swirling red wine in her glass. So, she said softly, your wife's body never turned up. That's quite the loose end. Ethan's eyes were hollow. She's gone. No one survives that fall. Vanessa's smile sharpened. And if she did? He glared at her. Then we finish what we started. Back at the hospital, night settled quietly over the desert town. Christopher sat alone outside the recovery room, staring at the pendant he'd taken off Emily before surgery. The tiny initials gleamed under the dim light. E.C. His chest tightened. The door opened. A nurse stepped out. She's stable, but she's asking questions. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't even know she's pregnant. Christopher stood abruptly. Amnesia? The nurse nodded. It might be temporary. Trauma can do that. Inside the room, Emily blinked awake. The world felt strange. White walls, soft beeping, the faint smell of antiseptic. Where am I? She asked weakly. Christopher hesitated in the doorway. You're safe. You were in an accident. Her eyes met his, searching. Do I know you? He forced a smile. Not yet, but you will. She touched her stomach, startled by its size. Am I? You're expecting, he said gently. The baby's fine. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't remember anything. Christopher's throat tightened. Then we'll start from here. Outside, Benjamin watched through the window, whispering to Alexander. If she really is Emily Carter, then Ethan Reed tried to kill our sister. Alexander's jaw clenched, and he's gonna wish he hadn't. Inside, Emily's heartbeat steadied. For the first time since the fall, the machines beeped in rhythm, like the beginning of a new life. Morning sunlight broke across Los Angeles, but Ethan Reed's mansion was shrouded in chaos. His phone buzzed non-stop. News alerts, missed calls, and one message from Vanessa. Damage control meeting. Now. He tossed the phone across the room and slammed his hand on the desk. Who leaked the footage? Vanessa swept in, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. Relax, she said smoothly. No one knows the truth. We're going to control the narrative. What narrative? He snapped. She sat down opposite him, crossing her legs. That your poor, unstable wife ran away. That she was under stress from pregnancy. That you did everything to help her. Ethan paced. You think anyone will buy that? They always do, Vanessa said with a smirk, especially when the grieving husband looks handsome on camera. By noon, they stood in front of flashing lights and microphones. Reporters shouted questions as Vanessa clutched Ethan's arm, pretending to be supportive. Her voice trembled perfectly. Emily Carter suffered severe depression, she told them. We believe she may have jumped. Ethan tried to save her. Cameras clicked like gunfire. Ethan lowered his eyes, feigning heartbreak. I just want her safe, he said, forcing tears. If anyone finds her, please help. The crowd murmured. Sympathy swelled. For a moment, it looked like their act was working. But somewhere in the control room of Carter Holdings, Benjamin Carter watched the broadcast on 3 monitors. He's lying, he muttered, and he's good at it. Alexander crossed his arms. Then we'll be better. Benjamin tapped keys rapidly. I'm hacking into his company's servers. If Ethan framed her, there'll be proof. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Emily stared at the TV in confusion. Her hair was tied back, face pale. The headline screamed, Tragic Fall, Pregnant Wife Missing After Breakdown. She touched her chest, breathing hard. That's me? Christopher quickly turned off the screen. You shouldn't watch that. But they said my name. He sat beside her bed. Listen to me. You're safe here. Don't believe anything you see. Her voice cracked. He said I jumped. Why would my husband say that? Christopher hesitated. Sometimes people lie to hide their sins. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Did I really try to kill myself? He leaned forward, his tone gentle. No, you were pushed. Emily froze, staring at him. How do you know? Because I saw the fear in your eyes before I caught you. Her lips trembled. You saved me? Christopher nodded. And I'm not done saving you yet. Outside, the desert wind swept across the hospital windows. Benjamin's call came through. Chris, Alex, listen. Ethan's press story is fake. I found doctored transactions, forged emails, and deleted footage from Vanessa's phone. They planned the fall. Alexander's voice hardened. Send everything to me. We'll expose them when she's ready. Inside, Emily gripped Christopher's hand. If what you're saying is true, she whispered, then they tried to kill me and my baby. Christopher's eyes met hers, burning with quiet rage. Then we'll make sure they never touch you again. Outside, the news vans kept rolling, broadcasting lies across the city, unaware that the truth had just begun to rise from the ashes. The hospital corridors smelled of antiseptic and silence. Emily Carter stared out the window at the dusty Arizona road that led nowhere. She had been discharged 2 days ago, her memory still broken into scattered pieces. Christopher insisted she stay close, but Emily begged for air. Just one walk, she said. I need to feel normal. He hesitated. Stay in town, okay? Don't talk to anyone who asks about the accident. I don't even remember what accident, she whispered, then smiled faintly to ease his worry. A few blocks away sat a small, sun-faded coffee shop. Its sign squeaked in the wind. Emily pushed open the door, the bell above it chiming softly. The place smelled of roasted beans and old stories. A kind barista smiled. You look like you could use something sweet, she said. Emily nodded, sitting near the window. She opened the sketchbook Christopher had given her, a blank one, to help with her therapy. Her fingers moved on their own, tracing a shape she didn't understand. Slowly, lines formed into something hauntingly familiar. A bridge suspended in air, a broken rope, and a pendant with the letters EC. She dropped the pencil, heart racing. The sound of the bell startled her. Someone entered. Christopher, holding 2 coffees, froze as he saw her drawing. Where did you learn to draw that? He asked quietly. Emily stared at the page. I don't know. It just came to me. Christopher's breath caught. That bridge, it's where I found you. Emily looked up, confused. You found me there? Before he could answer, a loud crash shattered the window beside them. A black pickup truck had screeched to a halt outside. A man in a cap tossed a brown envelope onto the floor. Stop digging, he growled before driving away. People screamed. Coffee spilled. Christopher rushed to Emily, pulling her behind him. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, trembling. "What's happening? Who are they?" He picked up the envelope carefully. Inside were photos, grainy surveillance stills from the canyon, showing Ethan and Vanessa arguing near the bridge. At the bottom was a note scrawled in red marker. She wasn't supposed to survive. Christopher's jaw tightened. "They're watching us." Emily's voice broke. "They're trying to finish it, aren't they?" He grabbed her hand. "Not while I'm breathing." Outside, a sheriff's car pulled up, lights flashing. A deputy rushed in. "Sir, we got reports of vandalism. Are you two all right?" Christopher nodded. "We're fine, but someone wants to silence her." The deputy frowned, taking the envelope. "You'd better keep a low profile. Folks out here don't like outsiders digging into things." When the officers left, Emily slumped back into her chair. "Every time I think I'm safe, something pulls me back into the dark." Christopher looked at her, drawing again. "Your hands remember what your mind forgot," he said softly. "That sketch, it's a sign. You're getting your memory back." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "And when I remember everything," Christopher met her gaze, "then we'll make them remember what they did to you." Outside, the wind howled through the canyon road again, like the echo of the bridge calling her back to where it all began. Night fell heavy over the desert town. Thunder rolled in the distance, warning of an approaching storm. Inside the small motel, where Christopher had moved Emily for safety, the air was thick with unease. She sat on the bed, holding the old pendant in her hand, tracing the engraved letters EC. Over and over again. "Christopher," she said softly, "I keep seeing flashes, faces, voices, the smell of the canyon wind. But when I try to remember more, it's like someone shuts off the light." Christopher leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "That's your mind protecting you. Sometimes trauma buries the truth until you're ready." She looked up at him. "What if I'm never ready?" He stepped closer. "Then I'll remember for you." Before she could answer, a knock shattered the silence. Christopher reached for his gun, signaling her to stay back. He opened the door slowly. Benjamin stood there, drenched from the rain, holding a laptop under his arm. "We have a problem," he said, "a big one." Alexander followed behind, his expression grim. "Ethan's people are searching every hospital in Arizona. He knows she's alive." Emily's breath caught. "He's coming for me?" Benjamin nodded. "Worse. Vanessa's running a media campaign to make you look unstable. They've already paid doctors to fake psychiatric reports." Christopher slammed his fist against the wall. "They're trying to erase her again." Alexander's voice was calm but cold. "Then we'll erase them first. Benjamin, show her." Benjamin opened his laptop and played a video. The screen flickered, grainy footage from a hidden camera at Ethan's mansion. Ethan's voice filled the room. "She was a liability. I couldn't risk her talking." Vanessa's laugh followed. "Don't worry, baby. Accidents happen all the time." Emily gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks. "He really tried to kill me." Christopher crouched beside her, taking her hand. "You hear that? That's proof. We'll make them pay." Alexander interrupted. "Not yet. If we move too fast, they'll bury the evidence. We need to build the case quietly." Benjamin added, "And we have to keep you hidden, Emily. Once you testify, Ethan's empire crumbles." She looked between them, trembling. "You all talk like soldiers. Who are you people?" Christopher hesitated, then spoke softly. "We're your family, Emily. Your brothers." Her eyes widened. "No, that can't be." Alexander stepped forward, removing the pendant from her palm and pulling an identical one from his pocket. "Dad gave us these before the bridge collapsed 25 years ago. We thought you died that day." Emily stared at the matching pendant, her heart racing. I remember a hand pulling me, a voice shouting my name. "Chris?" Christopher's voice broke. "It was me. I was a kid. I couldn't hold on." Tears streamed down her face. "You found me again." Outside, thunder cracked, shaking the windows. Emily stood, trembling but determined. "If they're hunting me, I won't run anymore. Let them come." Alexander looked at her with pride. "Then we'll stand together." Benjamin closed the laptop. "The storm's coming, and this time, it's ours to control." Lightning flashed through the window, reflecting in Emily's eyes, no longer afraid, but fierce with purpose. The storm outside had just begun to match the one burning inside her heart. Rain poured through the night like punishment from heaven. The motel lights flickered as thunder shook the desert. Emily sat at the small table, staring at the laptop screen where Ethan's confession replayed again and again. Each word was a blade twisting deeper. "She was a liability," he said. "I couldn't risk her talking." Her fingers clenched into fists. "I trusted him," she whispered. "I built his company. I believed every lie." Christopher poured her a glass of water, his jaw tight. "He didn't just betray you, Emily. He underestimated you." She looked up, eyes red but burning. "Not anymore." Alexander stood by the window, scanning the street. "We'll move you to Phoenix by morning. I have contacts there who can protect you until we expose him publicly." Emily shook her head. "No, I won't hide while he walks free." "Emily," Christopher said softly, "you're pregnant. You can't risk." She cut him off. "He risked my life. He risked my child's. I won't let him win again." Benjamin turned from his laptop. "Then you'll need proof that the video is real. Ethan will claim it's fake. Vanessa controls the media, and she's ruthless." Emily's lips curved into a bitter smile. "Then I'll fight her where she thinks she's strongest, publicly." The brothers exchanged uneasy glances. Alexander sighed. "She's just like Mom." Christopher smirked faintly. "No, stronger." By dawn, the rain stopped. The desert shimmered with the smell of wet earth. Emily stepped outside in a borrowed jacket, watching the sunrise spill over the red cliffs. For the first time, she didn't feel broken. She felt rebuilt. "Whatever happens," she said quietly, "I want my son to know his mother didn't hide." Behind her, Christopher joined her. "Then we'll make sure the world remembers that." Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Ethan Reed stormed into Vanessa's penthouse. "The video leak came from inside my system," he shouted. "Someone's helping her." Vanessa lounged on the couch, unbothered. "Relax, darling. Even if she's alive, no one will believe a pregnant woman who's mentally unstable. We own her story." Ethan slammed his fist onto the table. "You're not listening. Her brothers are alive. Those men from the helicopter, they're Carters." Vanessa froze for the first time. "Carter? As in Carter Holdings?" "Yes," he snapped. "And they've got money, power, and motive." Vanessa stood, pacing. "Then we change strategy. If we can't destroy her reputation, we destroy her legally." "How?" she smirked. "We sue her for embezzlement. I'll leak financial records showing she stole millions. It'll look like she tried to fake her death to escape prosecution." Ethan hesitated. "And if that doesn't work?" Vanessa's voice turned icy. "Then she'll disappear for real this time. No rescue, no cameras." Back in Arizona, Benjamin finished encrypting files onto a drive. "Once this goes public," he said, "there's no turning back." Emily looked at her reflection in the mirror. Pale skin, tired eyes, but a spark of strength she hadn't seen before. "I'm not turning back." Christopher handed her a coat. "Where are we going?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "To take your life back." Emily touched her stomach and whispered to her unborn child. "You'll see, baby. They tried to bury us, but we're going to rise." The storm had passed, but a war had just begun, and this time Emily Carter wasn't the victim. She was the weapon. The mirror in the small motel bathroom was cracked down the middle, splitting Emily's reflection in two. One side was soft, scared, fragile. The other, the one that stared back with steady eyes, was something new. She splashed cold water on her face, whispering to her reflection, "You're not the same woman he threw away." When she stepped out, Christopher and Benjamin were setting up laptops on the table. Alexander stood by the door, scanning the parking lot for tails. "Ethan's people are in Phoenix already," he said. "We move at noon." Benjamin looked up from his screen. "Before we do, Emily needs to see this." He hit play. On the monitor appeared a clip from a morning talk show, Vanessa's face flawless under studio lights, feigning grief. "I tried everything to help her," Vanessa said tearfully. "Emily was unstable, dangerous. She threatened to ruin Ethan's company. We only wanted her to get help." Emily stared at the screen, her jaw trembling. "She's turning me into a monster." Christopher shut the laptop with a snap. "Then we show them who the real monster is." Alexander nodded. "We're going to Los Angeles, tonight." Emily took a deep breath. "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not," Christopher said. She squared her shoulders. "You can't protect me forever. I need to face them myself." The room went silent. Alexander studied her, then sighed. "If you're going, you'll do it our way." Hours later, as the sun set behind the mountains, a black SUV sped down the desert highway. Emily sat in the back seat between Benjamin and Christopher, clutching a small flash drive, their proof against Ethan and Vanessa. Her heart raced, but her eyes were fierce. "Once we get to LA," Alexander said from the driver's seat, "we meet with our attorney, Lydia Moore. She's discreet and she owes me a favor. She'll prepare the case." Benjamin added, "We'll also hack Ethan's servers again tonight. If we find even one document tying Vanessa to the embezzlement, it's over." Emily turned her gaze to the dark horizon. "He always said I'd be nothing without him," she whispered. "Let's prove him wrong." They reached Los Angeles after midnight. Rain slicked the streets, neon lights bleeding across puddles. The SUV stopped in front of an upscale apartment building. Alexander looked at her. "Stay in the car until I clear the floor." Emily ignored him. She opened the door and stepped out. The city lights reflected off her wet hair. "If they want to see a ghost," she said quietly, "I'll give them one." Inside the penthouse, Vanessa poured herself champagne. Ethan stood by the window, watching lightning flash over the skyline. "You think she's really dead?" Vanessa asked. He didn't answer. Then a sound, a knock, firm and deliberate. Vanessa frowned. "Who's that?" Ethan opened the door. The hallway was empty except for a single white envelope taped to the wall. He tore it open. Inside was a photo of Emily standing on the bridge, alive, defiant, staring straight into the camera, and a note beneath it that read, "You didn't bury me, you built me." Ethan's face drained of color. Outside, Emily stood across the street in the shadows, rain dripping from her hood, eyes locked on the window above. "Round one," she whispered. "Let's begin." Los Angeles pulsed beneath the midnight rain, alive with secrets and sin. Emily Carter watched the lights blur through the car window as Alexander drove through downtown. Christopher sat beside her, his jaw tight. "You shouldn't have left that photo," he said. "Now he knows you're alive." "That's the point," she answered. "I want him to see what he tried to kill." Benjamin's voice came from the front seat. "Ethan will panic. That's when he makes mistakes. We'll record everyone." Alexander glanced in the mirror. "Stay sharp. If Vanessa catches wind of this, she'll strike fast." They parked in an underground garage beneath a luxury office tower. On the 10th floor, Lydia Moore, Alexander's attorney, waited with folders spread across her desk. "I've reviewed the files you sent," she said. "It's enough to open a criminal case, but not enough to win it." Emily's stomach sank. "What's missing?" "Financial trail," Lydia replied. "You need the original transfer logs linking Ethan and Vanessa to the offshore accounts." Benjamin nodded. "Those are stored on Ethan's personal server inside his house." Christopher crossed his arms. "So we break in." Lydia looked alarmed. "You can't. That's illegal." Emily's voice was steady. "So was throwing a pregnant woman off a bridge." The room fell silent. Lydia sighed. "If you're going to do this, you didn't hear it from me. Ethan's security system resets at 2 a.m. You'll have a 10-minute window." "Plenty," Benjamin said, already pulling up a blueprint on his tablet. An hour later, rain hammered against the mansion windows as Ethan paced in his office. Vanessa lounged on the sofa, sipping wine. "You look nervous," she said. "I saw her face," Ethan muttered. "That photo wasn't old. She's alive." Vanessa smirked. "Maybe it's a fake." He slammed his fist on the desk. "It wasn't fake. She's coming for us." Vanessa stood, circling him like a predator. "Then maybe it's time we stop waiting and end it ourselves." Outside, the Carters' SUV stopped behind the mansion's hedge. Benjamin disabled the alarms while Alexander kept watch. Christopher adjusted his earpiece. "Ready?" Emily nodded. Rain soaked her hair, but her eyes burned with determination. "Let's finish what they started." They slipped through a side entrance. The house was dark, except for the flicker of lightning through the glass. Benjamin guided them to Ethan's office. "The server's in there." Emily froze as she stepped inside, the same room where she'd helped design their first company logo. Ghosts of her old life clung to every corner. "Focus," Christopher whispered. She crossed to the desk, found the hidden panel, and inserted the flash drive Benjamin gave her. A soft hum filled the silence. "Transferring files," Benjamin whispered. 3 minutes. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Voices. Ethan and Vanessa. Alexander drew his gun. "We're out of time." The office door creaked open. Vanessa stepped inside, eyes narrowing. "Well, look who decided to haunt us." Emily turned slowly, drenched and shaking but unbroken. "Miss me?" Vanessa smirked. "You should have stayed dead." Lightning flashed. The two women stared each other down, one made of lies, the other reborn from them. Benjamin's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Transfer complete." Christopher grabbed Emily's hand. We're done. Move." As they sprinted through the rain toward the waiting SUV, alarms blared behind them. Inside the mansion, Ethan stared at the empty desk and the single message left on his monitor: "Truth uploads at dawn." Dawn broke over Los Angeles, spilling gold light through the storm clouds. Inside a quiet, safe house overlooking the city, Emily Carter stood by the window, watching the skyline she once called home. Her reflection looked foreign, stronger, sharper, reborn. Behind her, Benjamin typed furiously at his laptop, decoding the files they had stolen from Ethan's server. Alexander entered with 2 coffees. "The upload finished at 6 a.m., he said. "Everything's out there now." Emily turned slowly. "What do you mean out there?" "Social media, news outlets, federal investigators. Everyone has the truth," Benjamin said. "Every bank transfer, every lie, it's public record now." Christopher leaned against the wall, arms crossed. By sunrise, Ethan Reed isn't a businessman. He's a criminal. For a moment, silence filled the room. Emily exhaled shakily. "It's over?" Alexander shook his head. "No, it's just beginning. The press will hunt him, but cornered men are dangerous." Across the city, Ethan's mansion was in chaos. Reporters swarmed outside the gates. Police cars blocked the driveway. Vanessa paced the living room, mascara smeared. "You told me this couldn't happen," she screamed. Ethan's face was pale, his hands trembling. "Someone hacked the system. Someone's leaking everything." "Someone," Vanessa spat. "Try your dead wife." He glared at her. "You think she's capable of this? She couldn't even protect herself." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Then explain why the FBI just froze your accounts, Ethan." He grabbed her wrist hard. "You set me up." She yanked away. "You did that yourself." Outside, the wail of sirens drew closer. At the safe house, Benjamin's phone buzzed. "It's live," he said. "The world knows Ethan Reed staged the accident to steal from his wife's charity. Vanessa's tied to the PR cover-up." Emily's hand flew to her mouth. "My foundation, the donations, they were real?" "Every cent," Benjamin said. "You built something good. He tried to destroy it." Christopher stepped closer. "Now everyone knows who you really are." Emily looked at him, tears in her eyes but pride in her voice. "Then let's finish this my way." 2 hours later, she stood before a row of cameras at a downtown press conference. Dressed in white, her belly visible beneath the tailored suit, she faced the crowd with quiet power. "My name is Emily Carter," she began. "I was the woman you saw in the headlines, a wife, a victim, a ghost. But today I stand before you alive because truth doesn't drown." Flashes erupted. Reporters shouted questions. She continued, voice unwavering. "I was betrayed by the man who vowed to protect me. He tried to erase me. But I'm here to tell every woman who's been silenced, you can rise again." In the back of the room, her brothers watched with pride. Meanwhile, at his mansion, Ethan pushed through the chaos, clutching his phone. The broadcast played on every screen. Emily's face filled the airwaves. Calm, fearless, unstoppable. Vanessa turned to him, voice dripping with venom. "She just buried you." Ethan hurled the phone against the wall. "It's not over," he roared. Back at the press conference, Emily looked straight into the camera. "To those who tried to break me," she said softly, "thank you. You made me unbreakable." The crowd erupted in applause as sunlight flooded the room. For the first time since that day on the bridge, Emily Carter didn't feel like she was falling. She felt like she was finally flying. The morning after the press conference, chaos consumed Los Angeles. News helicopters hovered above Ethan Reed's mansion, broadcasting live as agents swarmed the property. Reporters shouted from the gates, "Mr. Reed, did you attempt to murder your wife?" Ethan pushed through the flashing cameras, eyes bloodshot, suit disheveled. "No comment," he barked, shoving past microphones. Inside, Vanessa sat on the staircase, her makeup smeared, scrolling through social media. Every headline screamed betrayal, pregnant wife survives murder plot, Ethan Reed's empire crumbles, mistress turns accomplice. Ethan slammed the door behind him. "Turn that off," he yelled. Vanessa looked up unfazed. "You should have married someone smarter." "Smarter," he hissed. "You helped plan this." She laughed dryly. "I helped clean your mess. You were the one stupid enough to record your confession." Ethan's jaw tightened. "You think you'll get away with this?" Vanessa stood slowly, walking toward him in her silk robe. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, voice dripping with venom, "I already have." She tossed a USB drive onto the table. "That's a copy of every transaction between us. I've sent the originals to my lawyer. If I go down, so do you. Ethan's face turned white. You're blackmailing me? I'm surviving, she replied coolly. It's what you taught me. Meanwhile, across town, Emily sat in a quiet garden behind the Carter Holdings building. The city was alive with noise, but here everything felt still. She rested her hand on her belly. Christopher approached, holding 2 cups of tea. You did it, he said softly. The whole world knows the truth. Emily looked up. Then why does it still hurt? Because you cared, he said, and people like Ethan don't. She sighed. He'll find a way to twist it again. He always does. Not this time, Benjamin said, joining them. He's finished. The FBI just froze his assets. Alexander appeared next, holding a document folder. And Vanessa Hale just turned on him. She's giving a full statement in exchange for immunity. Emily frowned. She betrayed him? Alexander nodded. Just like she betrayed you. Some people only know how to survive by switching sides. Emily's voice hardened. Then let her live with that guilt. Back at the mansion, Ethan poured whiskey into a glass with shaking hands. You think you can destroy me? He growled. Vanessa leaned against the window, watching reporters outside. You destroyed yourself. He turned suddenly, grabbing her by the wrist. You used me. She didn't flinch. So did you. We're the same. For a moment their eyes locked, 2 predators realizing the cage had closed around both of them. Then came the sound of sirens. Blue lights flashed through the windows. Vanessa smiled faintly. They're here for you. Ethan released her, panic flooding his face. You called them? She shrugged. I told you, I survive. The front door burst open. Federal agents stormed inside, shouting commands. Ethan backed away, hands trembling. You can't prove anything. One agent held up the warrant. We can now. You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. Ethan's world collapsed in seconds. Cameras outside captured the moment as he was dragged out in handcuffs, rain beginning to fall again. Inside, Vanessa watched through the window, raising her glass. Cheers, darling, she whispered, to karma. And somewhere across town, Emily Carter finally smiled. Not out of joy, but peace. Justice had begun to bloom. Rain poured over the Los Angeles County Jail, like the sky itself was done forgiving. Ethan Reed sat on the narrow cot in his cell, staring at the concrete wall. His expensive suit was gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit. His hair was a mess, his eyes hollow. The once celebrated tech visionary looked like a ghost who refused to die. The guard slid a tray of food under the bars. Breakfast, he muttered. Ethan didn't move. Across from him, another inmate chuckled. You're that guy on TV, huh? The one who tried to off his wife? Ethan didn't respond. His mind was replaying the moment Emily's hand slipped from his on the bridge, the look in her eyes when she realized what he'd done. He thought the image would fade with time, but it haunted him, sharper each day. Meanwhile, Vanessa Hale arrived at the courthouse in a tailored black suit and dark glasses. The media exploded around her like vultures circling a carcass. Miss Hale, are you testifying against Ethan Reed? Were you part of the murder attempt? She gave a single tight smile. No comment. Inside, her lawyer handed her a statement. Tell the truth, Vanessa, he said. It's your only chance. Truth. The word made her stomach twist. She took the oath, her voice steady but her heart trembling. Yes, she said. Ethan Reed and I planned to stage his wife's death. He wanted her gone to steal her assets. I helped cover it up. Gasps filled the courtroom. Ethan's attorney slammed his hands on the table. She's lying. But the evidence was irrefutable. Emails, bank transfers, audio recordings, all authenticated by Benjamin Carter's team. The prosecutor turned to the judge. Your Honor, we request full custody for trial. The judge nodded. Granted. As officers led Ethan away, he glared at Vanessa. You think this saves you? He hissed. You'll die alone. She smiled coldly. At least I'll die free. Outside, the world rejoiced. News anchors called it the fall of Ethan Reed. Comment sections overflowed with outrage and fascination. To them, it was the perfect scandal. Greed, betrayal, revenge. But to Emily Carter, it was simply survival. At Carter Holdings headquarters, she stood before a window overlooking the city. The skyline looked different now, less intimidating. Christopher entered quietly. It's over. He's not getting bail. Emily nodded slowly. Good. You should be happy, he said gently. I am, she replied. But it's not joy, it's closure. Benjamin joined them, setting down a folder. Public donations to your foundation have tripled since your speech. People believe in you again. Emily smiled faintly. Then let's use it. We'll rebuild the shelters he shut down. Every woman who lost her home because of him will have one again. Alexander appeared in the doorway, pride softening his usually stoic face. Mom and Dad would be proud of you. Emily's eyes filled with quiet tears. They'd be proud of all of us. Thunder rolled outside again, distant but familiar. Christopher looked out at the storm. You know, it's strange, he said. He lost everything he ever wanted, money, fame, control, and you gained everything he never had. Emily turned to her brothers, her voice calm. Because I never wanted power, I just wanted peace. As lightning flashed across the sky, the camera panned to Ethan's cell one last time. He sat in the darkness, head bowed, whispering the name that haunted his nights. Emily. But she was no longer his ghost. She was his reckoning. 6 months later, the city of Los Angeles glowed under the spring sun, unaware of the quiet miracle taking place inside Mercy Hospital. The cries of a newborn baby echoed down the sterile hallway. Nurses exchanged smiles as one of them whispered, "It's a boy." Inside the private suite, Emily Carter lay in bed, exhausted but glowing. Her son rested on her chest, his tiny hand gripping her finger with impossible strength. Christopher stood near the doorway, tears gathering in his eyes. "He's perfect," he said softly. Alexander smiled, arms crossed. "You just said that because he already has her stubborn look." Benjamin chuckled. "Or maybe because he's the first Carter born in this generation." Emily looked at her brothers. "He's not just mine," she whispered. "He's ours. He's the start of something new." The nurse entered quietly. "Mrs. Carter, would you like us to record his name?" Emily nodded, her voice steady. "Ethan Carter. After our father." "Not him," she said firmly. The nurse smiled. "That's a strong name." When they left the room, Christopher approached the crib. "You really want to give him Dad's name?" Emily nodded. "Dad died saving me once. Now his name will live through someone who'll never be afraid." Alexander placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're stronger than any of us ever thought." She looked down at her son. "No," she said softly. "He made me stronger." Later that evening, the family gathered in the hospital garden. The sunset painted the sky gold and crimson. Emily sat in a wheelchair, holding baby Ethan, while her brothers talked quietly nearby. Benjamin looked up from his phone. The court finalized everything today. Ethan Reed was sentenced to 25 years without parole. Vanessa got 10 for obstruction and fraud. Christopher nodded. Justice served. But Alexander's gaze stayed on Emily. "You know they'll both appeal, right? Are you ready for that?" Emily smiled faintly. "Let them try. The truth doesn't need defending anymore." Her words carried a weight that silenced the group. For the first time, she wasn't speaking from pain, but from peace. As night settled in, Christopher wheeled her closer to the fountain in the garden. The sound of water mixed with the soft coos of the baby. "You remember what you said on the bridge?" he asked quietly. Emily frowned. "What?" "You said, if I disappear, tell my child I loved them." Her breath caught. "You heard that?" He nodded. "Yeah, but now you get to tell him yourself." Emily blinked away tears, kissing her son's forehead. "Mommy loves you," she whispered, "more than life." Meanwhile, in a small jail cell miles away, Ethan Reed stared at the same sunset through a barred window. The news on the prison TV showed Emily's press conference replay. He watched her smile as she held the baby, the child he'd tried to destroy, but who now carried his enemy's strength. The guard called, "Lights out." Ethan whispered to himself, voice cracking, "You won." In her hospital room, Emily rocked her son gently. "No," she whispered, as if answering him across time and walls, "I survived." The camera lingered on her face, no longer the broken woman on the bridge, but a mother, a warrior, and the living proof that even after the darkest fall, new life can rise. 3 months after baby Ethan's birth, the Carter family estate in Malibu had become a sanctuary. The ocean breeze carried laughter from the patio, where Christopher played peekaboo with the infant while Alexander grilled dinner and Benjamin worked on his laptop, pretending not to smile. For the first time in years, the world felt safe. Emily sat by the pool, wrapped in a white shawl, her hair flowing freely. The sunset reflected off the water, turning everything gold. "It's strange," she said softly. "After all the noise, silence feels heavier than danger." Christopher looked up. "You're not used to peace yet." She smiled faintly. "Maybe peace feels foreign because I had to fight for it." Benjamin closed his laptop. Speaking of fighting, I just got an alert from the Bureau. Vanessa Hale's prison transfer is delayed. Someone filed a motion for early release. Alexander's head snapped up. On what grounds? Medical complications, Benjamin replied. But the report looks fake. Emily's heart tightened. You think Ethan's behind it? Christopher shook his head. Impossible. He's locked away. Benjamin frowned. Yeah, but not powerless. There's a money trail. Someone's been paying off guards. Alexander stood, his tone commanding. We'll contact our legal team. No one touches this family again. As the brothers strategized, Emily walked to the edge of the terrace, the ocean stretching endlessly before her. The sound of waves reminded her of the rope bridge, the wind, the fear, the free fall. She whispered to herself, "You can't fall again." Later that night, Emily couldn't sleep. She wandered into the living room, the baby monitor glowing softly beside the couch. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then she heard it, a soft creak from outside. Her breath caught. She grabbed her phone and texted Christopher. "Did you hear that?" Before he could respond, lightning flashed over the ocean, illuminating a dark figure at the end of the driveway. Emily froze. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." The figure moved closer. A man in a guard's uniform stepped into the light, holding an envelope. He looked nervous. "Mrs. Carter?" She hesitated. "Who are you?" "I worked at LA County," he said. I was told to deliver this to you, from him." He placed the envelope on the table and hurried back to his car, driving away before anyone else appeared. Christopher rushed into the room seconds later, gun drawn. "What happened?" Emily pointed at the letter. "He said it was from Ethan." Alexander appeared behind him. "Don't touch it. Benjamin, scan for tracking." Benjamin quickly used a handheld device, nodding. "Clean. Just paper." Alexander opened it cautiously. Inside was a single photograph, baby Ethan asleep in his crib, and a handwritten note beneath it. "I see him. He looks just like you." Emily's legs gave out. Christopher caught her as she fell to her knees, trembling. "That's impossible," she whispered. "How could he see my son?" Benjamin's voice was tight. "Either someone's leaking information, or he has help on the outside." Alexander crushed the note in his hand. "Then the storm isn't over. It's coming back." Emily looked toward the window. Lightning flashed again across the horizon, splitting the sky in two, just like the crack in her old mirror. Peace had been an illusion, and the shadows she'd escaped were finding their way home. The storm crashed against the Malibu cliffs all night, hammering the Carter estate with sheets of rain. Inside, Emily sat on the couch clutching the letter until her knuckles turned white. The words burned in her mind. "I see him. He looks just like you." Her brothers paced around the living room, voices low but tense. Benjamin's laptop glowed in the dark as code flickered across the screen. "I've traced the letter's postmark," he said. "It was mailed from outside the prison 2 towns over. Somebody smuggled it out for him." Alexander's voice was sharp. "Find out who." Christopher stood by the window, staring at the lightning flashing over the ocean. "He's not done with us," he muttered. "He's playing a new game." Emily finally spoke, her voice trembling but steady. "He's trying to scare me. He wants me to fall apart again." Alexander turned to her. "Then don't give him what he wants." "I won't," she said, standing up. "But I need to know how he saw my son." Benjamin's fingers flew over the keyboard. "There's only one way: inside help, someone who had access to hospital records or the security feed from the house." Emily's heart sank. "So there's a leak in our staff?" Christopher nodded grimly. "We'll find them." At dawn, Alexander called in private investigators and tightened security around the property. Guards patrolled the gates. The family's lawyer filed a formal complaint with the prison warden. Yet Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan's eyes were still on her. Later that morning, she sat in the nursery rocking baby Ethan. The sound of rain had faded into a dull hum. She kissed her son's forehead. "You're safe," she whispered, but even as she said it, doubt clawed at her chest. Christopher entered quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You should rest." "I can't," she said. "Every time I close my eyes, I see his face." Christopher placed the coffee on the table. "He's behind bars, Emily. He can't touch you." She looked up, tears glistening. "Evil doesn't need hands, Chris. It finds ways." He didn't argue. Instead, he knelt beside her. "Then we'll build stronger walls." Meanwhile, inside Los Angeles County Jail, Ethan Reed leaned against the cold bars of his cell. Across from him sat a new inmate, a guard in uniform, now stripped of his badge. "You delivered the letter?" Ethan asked quietly. The man nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. No one saw me." Ethan smiled, calm and chilling. "Good, you'll get your payment." The guard swallowed. "You really want to start this again?" "The woman survived. She's got the media, the feds." Ethan cut him off. "I'm not starting anything. I'm finishing it." Back in Malibu, Benjamin's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. "Alex, we've got a breach. Someone tried to access our home surveillance system remotely. The signal's coming from a prison IP address." Alexander swore under his breath. "That bastard's hacking us." Emily rose, clutching her baby close. "He's reaching out from behind bars. What does he want from me?" Christopher's expression hardened. "Not you, the child." Thunder rumbled again, louder than before. Outside, a single black car appeared on the road, headlights cutting through the storm. Alexander turned toward the window, eyes narrowing. "Everyone inside the safe room, now." Emily froze. "Who is it?" Benjamin checked the camera feed, his voice a whisper. "It's not a car from the staff. It's her." "Vanessa Hale," Christopher breathed. "She's back." The black car stopped just outside the Carter estate gates. Lightning illuminated the figure stepping out. Vanessa Hale, draped in a long coat, her blonde hair slick from the rain. She stood still for a moment, staring through the iron bars like a predator studying its prey. Then she pressed the intercom button, her voice smooth as poison. "Tell Emily Carter I need to talk. It's about her husband." Inside the control room, Benjamin's fingers flew over the keyboard, cycling through camera angles. "It's really her," he said, disbelief in his voice. "She shouldn't even be out. The appeal must have gone through." Alexander's jaw tightened, or someone pulled strings to get her released. Christopher stepped closer to the monitor, eyes narrowing. "She's alone. No backup. That's not her style." Emily entered the room holding her sleeping son. When she saw the screen, her breath caught. "She's supposed to be in prison," she whispered. Alexander turned to her. "You're not going near her." But Emily shook her head. "If she came here, it's for a reason. She doesn't make moves without leverage." Christopher stepped forward. "Then I'll talk to her." "No," Emily said firmly. "She came for me. Let her see what I've become." Moments later, the front doors opened, and Vanessa was escorted into the grand foyer, dripping rainwater onto the marble floor. She smiled as Emily appeared at the top of the stairs, calm and composed in a pale blue dress. "Well," Vanessa said, smirking, "you look alive." Emily's voice was steady. "Disappointed?" Vanessa chuckled softly. "Actually, impressed. You survived the impossible. You always did have a flair for drama." Emily walked down the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. "What do you want, Vanessa?" "I came to warn you," she said, dropping her coat to reveal a small flash drive in her hand. "Ethan's not just sending letters. He's planning something involving your son." Christopher and Alexander exchanged wary glances. "Why should we believe you?" Alexander asked. "Because," Vanessa said, her voice trembling for the first time, "he's using me to do it." Emily's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Vanessa took a shaky breath. "When I turned on him, I thought it was over. But Ethan has people outside, investors, loyalists, thugs. They've been paying my legal bills, keeping tabs on you. He promised them something. A child. He told them your son was his." The room went silent. Christopher's fists clenched. "He's not getting near that boy." Vanessa nodded. "He's trying to arrange a kidnapping from inside prison." "I stole this," she said, holding out the flash drive. "It's proof. Emails, money transfers, his plans. But once they find out I gave it to you, I'm dead." Emily studied her, torn between rage and disbelief. "Why help me now? After everything you did?" Vanessa's eyes glistened. "Because I finally met someone more dangerous than me." Lightning cracked outside, shaking the windows. Emily took the drive from her trembling hand. "If you're lying, I'll make sure you regret stepping foot on this property again." Vanessa gave a hollow smile. "Trust me, sweetheart, you won't need to. Ethan's already written my death sentence." As the doors closed behind her, thunder roared. Christopher turned to Emily. "What are you going to do?" Emily stared at the flash drive, her reflection flickering in the lightning. "Finish what he started," she whispered. "But this time, I decide how it ends." The storm passed, but the air inside the Carter estate was thick with tension. Emily sat at the long dining table, the tiny flash drive resting before her like a loaded gun. Her brothers stood around her, their expressions a mix of fury and disbelief. Benjamin connected the drive to his laptop. Let's see what snake venom she brought us. Lines of encrypted code filled the screen. Christopher leaned over. Can you crack it? Benjamin smirked faintly. You're talking to the man who hacked the Pentagon's firewall for fun in college. Give me 5 minutes. Alexander crossed his arms, pacing. If Vanessa's telling the truth, we're dealing with a network, not just Ethan. Emily kept her eyes on the drive, her fingers trembling. He wants my son, she said quietly. He's still trying to own something that doesn't belong to him. Christopher placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. He'll never touch that child, not while I'm alive. A soft beep interrupted them. Benjamin's eyes widened. Got it? Files unlocked. Dozens of documents appeared. Financial transfers, emails, prison communications. One video file sat at the top, labeled for Emily. Emily's heart pounded. Play it. The video loaded. Ethan Reed's face filled the screen, thinner, older, eyes burning with obsession. He sat in a dim prison cell, speaking directly to the camera. Emily, he began, his voice smooth and deliberate. If you're watching this, then Vanessa has betrayed me again. Typical. You always inspired loyalty in the weak. He smiled faintly. You think you've won, don't you? But you don't understand. You can't erase me. You can't escape what we were. Emily's jaw tightened. We were never anything, she whispered. On the screen, Ethan leaned closer. I built a world for you, Emily. Every success you have is because of me, and when you watch the empire crumble again, when they take what you love, you'll realize I never left. Christopher slammed his hand on the table. Cut it off. But Emily raised her hand. No. Let it play. Ethan continued, his tone darkening. By now you've met Vanessa. She's desperate. She gave you this file thinking it would save her. It won't. She's a pawn. They all are. Benjamin frowned. Who's they? Ethan smirked. You'll find out soon enough. The people funding me aren't finished. They'll come for what's mine, and what's mine is you. The screen went black. Silence filled the room. Alexander spoke first, his voice steady but cold. We're not dealing with one man anymore. This is organized. Benjamin scanned the rest of the files, his brow furrowed. He's been communicating with an offshore group, something called the Ascendants. They've wired millions into his prison account. Christopher shook his head. That doesn't make sense. Why would a criminal syndicate back a disgraced tech CEO? Emily's eyes hardened. Because Ethan's more than that. He's a manipulator. He knows how to build empires and how to burn them down. Benjamin's voice dropped. If they want your son, they won't stop. Emily stood, her posture straight, her voice clear. Then we won't hide anymore. Alexander looked at her in alarm. Emily, no, she interrupted. He built his war in shadows. I'll fight mine in the light. Christopher frowned. What do you mean? She turned toward the window, the sunrise cutting through the gray sky. If Ethan thinks I'm scared, he wins. But if I show the world I'm stronger, he loses everything. Benjamin closed the laptop slowly. You're going public again? Emily nodded. Bigger this time. A live interview. He wanted the world to see me fall, so now the world will see me rise. As dawn broke across Malibu, the reflection of the flash drive shimmered like a warning and a promise. Ethan's words had been a threat. Emily's silence was the answer. Morning light poured through the Carter estate's floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off a room transformed into a war zone of laptops, cameras, and broadcast gear. Emily stood at the center, wearing a crisp white suit, the same color she'd worn the day she reclaimed her name. Her brothers circled like generals preparing for battle. Benjamin adjusted the microphones. The networks confirmed the live slot. They'll air your statement tonight, prime time. Alexander scrolled through his phone. Security's tight. No one gets within 50 yards without clearance. Christopher handed Emily a folder. Here's the bullet points. Keep it factual, not emotional. Emily smiled faintly. That's the difference between me and Ethan. I don't perform, I speak the truth. She took a deep breath and looked at her reflection in the black TV screen. The woman staring back was no longer the trembling wife on the bridge. Her eyes carried the quiet fire of someone who had fallen, survived, and learned how to stand taller. Let's do this, she said. By 8 p.m., the studio lights were blinding. Emily sat across from veteran journalist Claire Monroe, who had covered every major scandal in the city. Cameras rolled. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Claire smiled politely. Tonight, we speak to Emily Carter, the woman whose story captivated the world. Emily, after everything, why speak again? Emily's voice was calm, almost serene, because the truth doesn't end when the news cycle does. It's ongoing, and so is justice. Claire leaned forward. You recently received new evidence, files that connect your ex-husband to an international group called the Ascendants. Can you confirm their involvement? Emily nodded. Yes, Ethan Reed wasn't acting alone. He was financed by people who profit from control over corporations, charities, even governments. My foundation was their gateway. Claire's eyes widened slightly. That's a serious accusation. Emily met her gaze. So is throwing a pregnant woman off a bridge. The audience gasped. The comment section on the live stream exploded. Claire hesitated. Are you afraid of retaliation? Emily smiled. They've already tried to silence me. Fear isn't protection, it's permission. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan sat in the prison common room, surrounded by inmates watching the same broadcast. His knuckles turned white as Emily's image filled the TV. Turn it off, he shouted, but no one moved. Emily's voice echoed through the screen. I built my life on compassion. Ethan built his on greed, but greed collapses. Compassion endures. The guard smirked. Guess she's not done with you, boss. Ethan's eyes burned with fury. She has no idea what's coming. Back in the studio, the interview reached its climax. Claire asked, what message would you give Ethan Reed if he were watching right now? Emily looked straight into the camera, her expression fierce yet calm. You once said, I couldn't live without you. But here's the truth. You don't exist without me. Every empire you built, every dollar you stole, every lie you told, it all started because I believed in you. Now, the only thing left of you is what the world will remember, a cautionary tale. The broadcast ended in silence before erupting into applause. Outside, the city glowed brighter than ever. In one tower, Alexander exhaled. She just declared war. Benjamin grinned. And she's winning it. Christopher turned to the window, watching the night stretch endlessly across the ocean. Let him watch. Let him feel what it's like to lose everything to the truth. Far away, in his dark cell, Ethan Reed stared at the flickering TV. The woman he'd tried to erase had become unstoppable, and for the first time, he understood what real power looked like. The night after Emily's explosive interview, the world couldn't stop talking. Her name dominated every headline. The woman who stood against empire. Social media hailed her as a hero, but not everyone was celebrating. In a dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of Los Angeles, 3 men gathered around a flickering monitor. The leader, a tall man with slick-back hair and an accent that dripped with authority, turned off the screen. So, this is the woman causing trouble, he said. Ethan Reed wasn't exaggerating. Another man, shorter and sharper, replied, The Ascendants want her silenced permanently. The leader nodded, then we'll deliver. Back at the Carter estate, Emily stood on the balcony, her white robe fluttering in the night breeze. The ocean was calm, but she could feel tension building beneath the surface, an instinct she'd learned to trust. Christopher joined her, holding 2 cups of tea. You did it, he said softly. You took back your story. She smiled faintly. Taking it back doesn't mean it's over. He studied her face. You feel it too? She nodded. Something's coming. Inside, Benjamin and Alexander sat surrounded by glowing screens, monitoring security feeds. We've had 20 new firewall attacks in the last hour, Benjamin said. Somebody's probing our system. Alexander frowned. Is it Ethan? Benjamin shook his head. No, too sophisticated. This is organized, military grade. An alarm suddenly blared through the estate. Perimeter breach, Benjamin shouted. Lights flashed red. Emily and Christopher rushed inside. What's happening? She cried. Someone's trying to access the main gate, Alexander said, grabbing his gun. Stay with the baby. Before she could respond, the power cut out. The house plunged into darkness. Christopher clicked on a flashlight. Backup generators offline. They planned this. Emily clutched the pendant at her neck, heart pounding. They're here for me. From outside came the sound of engines and boots crunching gravel. Shadows moved beyond the windows, men in black tactical gear advancing in formation. Benjamin's voice came through the earpiece. We've got 5 intruders, heavily armed. Looks like they're using suppression tech. No signals going out. Alexander's command tone kicked in. Christopher, take Emily to the safe room. Benjamin, reroute the security feed through the satellite uplink. I'll handle the front. Christopher grabbed Emily's hand. Come on. They sprinted down the hallway as gunfire cracked in the distance. Emily stumbled, clutching her chest, memories of the bridge flashing before her eyes. The fall, the fear, the helplessness. Not this time. She forced herself to run faster. In the control room, Benjamin typed furiously. Uplink reconnected, sending location to the police now. Suddenly a voice echoed through the house, a voice they all knew. Ethan Reed's. It came from the intercom system, cold and mocking. Miss me, Emily? Emily froze mid-step. That's impossible. Ethan's voice laughed. You didn't think prison could hold me forever, did you? Alexander's voice came through the comm. It's a recording. Stay focused. But Emily wasn't sure. The sound was too real, too timed, too deliberate. Outside, headlights approached, dozens of them. Christopher looked at her, fear and resolve battling in his eyes. We need to go. Now. Emily shook her head slowly. No, he wants me scared. He wants me running. She turned toward the main hall, her voice steady. Not anymore. Christopher grabbed her arm. Emily, this isn't the time for bravery. It's not bravery, she said, eyes blazing. It's payback. The door exploded inward and the first wave of masked men stormed the house. Emily Carter stood tall in the flickering light, her brothers flanking her. The woman they'd once tried to erase, now ready to fight for everything they'd failed to steal. Gunfire ripped through the Carter estate like thunder splitting the sky. Glass shattered, alarms wailed, and the smell of smoke filled the air. Emily clutched the baby monitor in one hand, her heart pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. Benjamin, kill the lights in the West Wing. Alexander shouted through his earpiece. Draw them toward me. Benjamin's fingers flew over the keyboard. Done. Security grid rerouted. Police are 5 minutes out, but we might not have 5 minutes. Christopher crouched beside Emily behind a marble column, gun drawn. Stay low, he ordered. I'm not hiding, she said through clenched teeth. This is my house. He gave her a look, half fear, half admiration. You sound just like Dad. Outside, masked men advanced up the driveway, rifles gleaming under the security lights. A black SUV idled behind them, engine rumbling. Inside, a man's silhouette watched through tinted glass. Alexander caught sight of it from the upper balcony and froze. No way, he whispered. It's him. Through the haze and rain, Ethan Reed stepped out of the SUV, dressed in a stolen guard's uniform. His hair was longer, his face thinner, but his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, were the same. Benjamin's voice cracked through the comm. How did he get out? Alexander's jaw clenched. He never planned to stay in. Ethan raised a megaphone. His voice echoed across the courtyard. Emily, you can't hide forever. Emily's breath caught. He's here, she whispered. Christopher grabbed her arm. We're getting you to the safe room, but Emily pulled free. No, this ends tonight. Before he could stop her, she stepped into the open hallway, rain blowing in through broken windows. Her voice rang out over the chaos. Ethan, you want me? I'm right here, Ethan smiled darkly. There's my girl. Bullets whizzed past her as Alexander opened fire from the balcony, covering her advance. Christopher tackled one intruder, disarming him with a single blow. Benjamin hacked into the estate's sprinkler system, flooding the corridors with water to short out the attackers' weapons. Emily moved closer to the courtyard, her hair plastered to her face, her bare feet slipping on the wet marble. She stared at the man who had once been her husband, the man who had stolen her life and nearly her soul. Why, Ethan? She shouted. You had everything. Ethan laughed, the sound hollow and broken. Everything? I had you, and you made me weak. Without me, you're nothing but a headline. Lightning flashed behind her, lighting her face with fury. Then watch what nothing looks like when it stands up. She raised the small remote Benjamin had handed her earlier. What is that? Ethan demanded, she said. And your ending. She pressed the button. A hidden screen in the courtyard flickered to life, broadcasting the live security footage Benjamin had uploaded minutes before. The attack, the armed men, Ethan stepping from the SUV. Cameras rolled. The world was watching again. Ethan turned, realizing too late. No. Sirens wailed in the distance as police lights painted the wet ground red and blue. His men scattered. Alexander and Christopher closed in, weapons drawn. Emily stepped closer, rain pouring down her face like tears. You said I'd never survive without you, she said softly. But look at me, Ethan. I'm still standing. He lunged forward, shouting, You'll regret this. but Christopher intercepted, slamming him to the ground. Cuffs clicked shut. As officers flooded the courtyard, Emily stood among the flashing lights, soaked but unbroken. Her brothers surrounded her, protective, proud. Ethan was dragged toward a police car, his screams lost in the storm. Emily turned to Alexander. "Is it finally over?" Alexander exhaled. "Yeah," he said. "This time it's over." But deep inside, Emily knew justice was only the beginning. The storm finally broke over Malibu, leaving behind the smell of wet earth and gunpowder. The once grand Carter estate now stood wounded. Windows shattered, walls scorched, furniture overturned. Police lights flickered across puddles like restless ghosts. Emily Carter stood in the middle of the chaos, a blanket around her shoulders, watching as officers loaded Ethan Reed into a squad car. He looked nothing like the man she once loved. His face was bruised, his clothes soaked, but his eyes still burned with that same cruel defiance. "You think this is over?" he spat. "You'll always be mine, Emily. No one else will ever understand you." She stepped closer, her voice calm and cold. "You're wrong. They already do." She turned slightly, revealing her three brothers standing behind her. Alexander, Christopher, and Benjamin, united, silent, unbreakable. Ethan sneered. "You think they'll protect you forever?" Alexander stepped forward. "They don't need to. She can protect herself now." Ethan laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You've all built your castles on my ashes." "But ashes spread, Emily. They find their way back." Emily looked him straight in the eye. "Then I'll burn them again." The door slammed shut, cutting off his voice. The car pulled away, leaving nothing but the echo of sirens fading into the dawn. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Benjamin exhaled. "I traced the last of the Ascendant's accounts. They're frozen. The organization's collapsing without Ethan." Alexander nodded. "Good. Let them eat each other alive." Christopher turned to Emily. "You should rest. The baby." She shook her head. "He's safe with Mom's old nurse. I needed to see this." "See what?" Christopher asked. "The end," she said quietly. "And the beginning." She walked through the wreckage of the house, the broken glass, the bullet holes, the scorch marks. Every scar told a story of survival. Her hand brushed the cracked marble wall, and for a moment she saw her old life flicker. The naive wife, the woman begging for love from a man who saw her as a trophy. That woman was gone now. In the courtyard, firefighters hosed down the last smoking embers. A reporter called out from behind the police line, "Mrs. Carter, do you have any comment about what happened tonight?" Emily paused, then faced the cameras. "Yes," she said clearly. "Evil doesn't vanish overnight, but when people stand together, family, truth, love, it doesn't stand a chance." Flashes exploded like lightning. Her brothers moved beside her, forming a shield as she walked back inside. Later, as dawn painted the sky pink and gold, Emily stood on the balcony with a cup of tea. The ocean was calm again, gentle waves whispering against the shore. Christopher joined her, leaning on the railing. "You did it," he said softly. "You took him down." Emily watched the horizon. "No," she murmured. "He took himself down. I just stopped falling with him." Behind them, baby Ethan stirred in his crib, letting out a small, peaceful sigh. Emily turned toward the sound, her heart softening. "He'll never know the darkness his father tried to leave behind," she said. Alexander appeared at the doorway. "We'll rebuild," he said simply. Emily smiled faintly. "No," she replied. "We'll start over. From ashes come new light." As the sun broke fully over the horizon, its golden rays touched the battered walls of the estate, turning every scar into something that shimmered. Proof that survival wasn't about avoiding the fire, but learning how to rise from it. 1 week after the siege, the Carter estate was quiet again. The scent of salt and smoke lingered in the air, but the noise of sirens and gunfire had been replaced by the rhythm of waves rolling gently against the shore. Workers repaired the broken gates. Fresh paint covered the burn marks. From the outside, it almost looked like nothing had happened, but inside, the scars ran deeper. Emily sat in the study with her brothers, a mug of untouched coffee in her hands. The morning light cut across the floor, slicing through the silence. "So," she said softly, "it's finally over." Benjamin looked up from his tablet. "Ethan's in a federal facility now. Maximum security. No bail, no privileges, no communication." Alexander added, "And Vanessa's under witness protection. She gave the FBI everything they needed to shut down the Ascendants." Christopher leaned forward. "That doesn't mean it's over for us. The press won't let it die." They're still camping outside the gates. Emily gave a tired smile. Let them watch. For once, I have nothing to hide. She turned her gaze toward the window, where the ocean shimmered in the sunlight. Do you think peace always feels this heavy? Alexander nodded slowly. Because peace isn't free, Emily. It costs every piece of who we were before. Her eyes softened. Then I guess I paid the price in full. The knock at the door interrupted them. A young woman entered, one of Emily's staff, holding an envelope. This just came for you, ma'am. No return address. Christopher stood instantly. Let me see that. He scanned the envelope. No postmark. Someone dropped it off by hand. Emily's pulse quickened. Open it. Inside was a single photograph, her standing at the press conference weeks ago, baby Ethan in her arms. Scrawled across the bottom in messy handwriting were 4 words, "He looks like me." Christopher cursed under his breath. It's him. He's taunting you. Benjamin frowned. But it came from outside the prison. Someone's still working for him. Alexander clenched his fists. We'll find out who. But Emily stared at the picture, her expression unreadable. No, she said quietly. We don't chase ghosts anymore. Christopher looked at her, confused. You're just going to ignore it? She met his eyes. I've spent years fighting his shadow. I won't let him live rent-free in my head again. That's how he wins. Her brothers fell silent. There was strength in her calm, a strength no gun or threat could break. Later that evening, Emily walked alone along the beach behind the estate. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of rose and amber. She picked up a small seashell and turned it in her fingers. For the first time in years, she didn't feel hunted. She felt free. The waves whispered softly, carrying away the last traces of the nightmare that once defined her. Behind her, the estate lights glowed warmly through the darkness. A home rebuilt, a family reborn. She whispered into the wind, You can haunt your cell, Ethan. I have a life to live. A gull flew overhead, cutting across the dying light. Emily watched it disappear into the horizon and smiled. I survived you, she murmured, and that's all that matters. Her footsteps faded into the sand, leaving no trace, only peace at last, earned through fire and loss and love that refused to break. It had been 6 peaceful months since Ethan's second arrest. The world had moved on, or at least pretended to. Emily Carter's foundation had become one of the most respected charities in the country, her story inspiring millions. Her speeches filled halls, her face appeared on magazine covers, and her name became a symbol of strength. But even strength comes with shadows. Late one night, after another long day of meetings, Emily returned to the Malibu estate. The house was quiet, except for the gentle ticking of a grandfather clock. Baby Ethan slept soundly upstairs. She poured herself a cup of tea and sat near the window, watching the ocean shimmer under the moonlight. Her mind drifted back to the bridge, the moment between life and death, the wind, the betrayal. The past felt distant but still alive, whispering in her ear. You can't outrun memory, she murmured. The phone on the table buzzed, unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A voice spoke, low and steady. Mrs. Carter, you don't know me, but I worked at the facility where Ethan's being held. Her grip tightened around the phone. Who is this? I think you should know, the voice continued. Your husband isn't there anymore. Emily's heart froze. What did you say? The man sighed. 2 nights ago, during a routine transfer, the van exploded. 3 guards dead. The body they found was burned beyond recognition. No fingerprints, but there's something you should see. A soft chime interrupted him, an email arriving on her laptop. She opened it. Attached was a photo of a scorched prison corridor. On the blackened wall, someone had written in soot, You can't burn what already survived. Her blood ran cold. Is this a joke? She demanded. I wish it was, the man said. The feds are keeping it quiet, but... The surveillance footage before the blast, someone disabled the cameras from the inside. The line went dead. Emily stood slowly, trembling. The clock ticked louder. She turned toward the hallway and froze. The front door was slightly open. Christopher appeared a moment later, gun in hand. I saw the door. You okay? She nodded shakily, showing him the phone. He's gone. His eyes hardened. That's impossible. He's dead. Emily whispered. They never found proof. Within minutes, Alexander and Benjamin joined them. Benjamin scanned the photo on her laptop. If this is real, the Bureau will confirm it by morning. Alexander rubbed his temples. If he's alive, we need to move. Now. Double security. No more interviews, no public events. But Emily's voice cut through the tension. No. Christopher turned to her. Emily. She straightened, eyes filled with a calm fury. I won't hide again. That's what he wants, to make me afraid. I have a son to protect, and I'll protect him by living, not by running. Benjamin's gaze softened. You sound like Dad. Emily looked toward the dark ocean outside. Dad taught us that monsters lose their power the moment we stop fearing them. Thunder rolled in the distance, faint but growing closer. She closed her laptop, her reflection caught in the black screen, a woman who had faced death and kept walking. If Ethan's out there, she said quietly, he'll find a different Emily waiting for him this time. And as lightning flashed across the horizon, the waves crashed harder, like the world itself, bracing for the storm that was about to return. The next morning, the Malibu sun rose over the ocean, deceptively peaceful. But inside the Carter estate, fear was tangible. Emily hadn't slept. Her brothers gathered in the study, the atmosphere tight as steel. The photo of the burned prison van lay on the table, next to her untouched coffee. Alexander spoke first, his voice low and firm. We can't treat this like rumor. If Ethan's alive, he's already planning his next move. Christopher slammed his hand on the table. Then let's hunt him first. Benjamin, eyes glued to his laptop, muttered, He's not stupid. If he faked his death, he's gone off-grid. The question is, who helped him? Emily leaned forward. The ascendants, the ones we thought were destroyed. Benjamin shook his head. They're scattered, but not gone. I've been tracking offshore accounts. Millions moved into dummy corporations 3 days before the explosion. Alexander frowned. So this was funded. Christopher turned to Emily. We need to get you and the baby out of the country. She stood abruptly. No, I'm done running from ghosts. Her voice was calm but unshakable, and for a moment, even Alexander didn't argue. Later that day, she walked through the garden behind the estate. The waves crashed below the cliffs, wild and restless. Emily clutched her pendant, the initials EC, glinting in the sun. You can come back from the dead, Ethan, she whispered, but you'll never take what's mine again. Suddenly, a faint beeping sound broke the silence. She frowned and looked down. The phone in her pocket vibrated with an unknown number. Emily, Christopher's voice shouted from the security feed inside the house. Get back inside, now! But before she could react, the phone screen changed. A video began to play. Ethan's face appeared. Alive, smirking, standing in what looked like a foreign city alleyway. His hair was longer, his beard unkempt, but his eyes burned with cruel clarity. Hello, darling, he said. You always did look better near the edge of something dangerous. Emily froze. How are you? He interrupted, laughing softly. You didn't think I'd rot in a cage, did you? Please, I built the system that pretends to hold me. Behind him, the faint sound of traffic hinted at somewhere in South America. You ruined everything I made, he continued. Now I'll return the favor, slowly. Her hands trembled. If you touch my son, Ethan's expression turned venomous. Your son? He leaned closer to the camera. You still believe he's yours alone? You never read the full results, did you? Emily's world tilted. You're lying. He smiled. Am I? The video cut out. Inside the house, Benjamin was already tracing the signal. The feed was routed through 3 countries. I can't pin it down. Alexander shouted, Lock down the estate. No one in or out. Christopher burst through the door, panting. She's outside. Emily. But when they reached the cliff, she was gone. The wind howled against the rocks, and the phone lay in the grass, still playing Ethan's voice in an endless loop. You never read the results. Far away, in a dark hotel room, Ethan Reed turned off his laptop, his face reflected in the black screen. Ready or not, he murmured, the game starts again. The storm had returned, and this time it wasn't just revenge, it was war. The wind screamed across the Malibu cliffs as the sky turned gray before sunrise. The estate, once a fortress, now felt like a battlefield waiting for its last war. Alexander stood on the terrace, scanning the horizon through binoculars. No sign of her, he said, his voice cracking. It's been 3 hours. Inside, Christopher slammed his fist into the wall. She wouldn't just disappear, not after everything. Benjamin's eyes stayed locked on the computer screen. I'm tracking her phone. The last signal was near Point Doom, but then it went dark. Christopher spun around. Ethan has her. Alexander turned sharply. We don't know that yet. Benjamin's voice shook. Yes, we do. He hit a key. A new image appeared. security footage from a traffic camera near the cliffs. Emily's car, a black SUV right behind it, and inside the SUV, just visible through tinted glass, Ethan Reed. Christopher's jaw clenched. Then we end this tonight. Meanwhile, deep inside an abandoned airstrip 2 hours north, Emily sat tied to a chair, bruised but unbroken. The dim bulb flickered above her. Ethan paced in front of her, his every movement precise, controlled, almost rehearsed. "You never learn, do you?" he said softly. "Always fighting, always pretending you're stronger than me." She met his gaze. "Pretending? No, Ethan. I became stronger because of you." He smiled thinly. "You think you've won because I lost everything? No, Emily, you won't win until I say you can. You don't get to decide that anymore." Ethan crouched beside her. "Then tell me, why did the DNA test say 50-50? Why does that child have my blood type?" Her breath caught. "You forged those results." He chuckled. "Believe what you want, but I have friends still loyal to me. They'll take the boy and raise him the way I would have, without weakness." "You'll never touch him," she hissed. Just then, the sound of engines echoed outside. Ethan turned sharply toward the noise. Headlights swept through the cracks in the hangar doors. Alexander's voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "Ethan Reed, you're surrounded. Step away from her." Ethan's face twisted in fury. "You just don't stop, do you?" He grabbed Emily by the arm, dragging her toward the exit. But the doors burst open before he could reach them. Christopher stormed in, weapon raised. Benjamin followed, covering his flank. Ethan pulled a pistol from his jacket, aiming it at Emily's head. "One more step and she dies." Emily closed her eyes. "Do it, Ethan. That's all you have left." For the first time, his hand trembled. His eyes flickered. Not hate this time, but something hollow. "I loved you," he whispered. She looked at him calmly. "No, you owned me, and now you've lost everything." A shot rang out. Ethan stumbled backward, the gun falling from his grip. He collapsed to the floor, staring at her one last time. "You'll never be rid of me," he murmured, before his body went still. Emily's brothers rushed forward, untying her. She stood slowly, breathing hard. "It's done," Christopher said. "No," Emily whispered. "It's over." Outside, the first light of dawn broke through the clouds. Emily stepped out into the open air, the cold wind hitting her face. The ocean roared below, wild but free, just like her. She turned to her brothers, tears glistening in her eyes. "Let's go home." As they drove away, the sun rose over the cliffs. The nightmare had ended where it began. But this time, Emily Carter wasn't falling. She was rising. So, that's how the story ends, my dear friends. You're still here, aren't you? If you've stayed until now, something in Emily's journey must have touched your heart. Maybe a quiet reminder that even after the worst storms, we can rise again. Life will break you, test you, and sometimes leave you hanging by a thread. But as the Stoics said, the obstacle is the way. Pain isn't the end. It's the path to becoming stronger, wiser, more alive. Emily taught us that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means standing up, even with the scars. So if you're going through something heavy right now, take a deep breath. You're not broken, you're being rebuilt. And if this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe, because somewhere out there, someone else needs to hear that survival isn't weakness. It's power. Let's keep rising together.